Anytime Judge Judy starts with, I have some bad news for you, you know it's not going to be a good situation.
Mr. Piscala, I know that this is going to come to you as very bad news.
And in this particular clip, there was a man who claimed to have had an oral agreement to purchase 8 acres of land from a woman.
So this is what happened. You entered into an oral agreement with the defendant to purchase some property that she had. And you entered an agreement to buy it for, just give me the amount.
$38,000, Your Honor, for 8.35 acres.
And then after they entered into their oral agreement, he went on the land and started preparing it for use as a working farm. She ends up listing the property and gets it under contract for twice as much money and sells it to someone else.
What your lawsuit is you want to be compensated for the work you did on the property.
That's correct, Your Honor.
That's not happening because you didn't have an agreement with her to do work on the property.
I believe it's only fair that I be repaid for the work and labor that I put into this land under the false pretenses of being sold this land.
You're not going to get it.
Basically, this guy's theory is akin to something called promissory estoppel, where somebody makes you a very clear, unambiguous promise, and it is foreseeable or likely that you would rely on that promise. Then you do rely on that promise and you have some negative result or some damages because of your reliance, then you could recover or it could prevent someone from breaking that promise to you. So you have to meet certain criteria.
Which I probably believe is true that you said to her, by the way, do you mind if I go in and start clearing away the property since we have a deal? She didn't say to you, fine. And if we don't consummate the deal, I will pay you $11 an hour for whatever work that you do on the property if it enriches my property. You don't have that contract. So there is no theory upon which you get paid for clearing away her property.
It's one of the first things you learn in real property in law school, that if you are going to buy and sell real property, has to be in writing to be enforceable. She's kind of referring to a concept called the concept in contract law called the statute of fraud. Certain agreements have to be in writing to be enforceable, and in this case, the sale of land or sale of real property is one of those things.
Your Honor, I'm not a charity. I work for a living, and the time that I worked on this land...
Then you should have waited. You're not getting paid. There's no legal theory, sir. What you should have done was wait until you had a contract.
And he says, I'm not a charity. I did all this work, I should be paid back for it. Judge Judy unequivocally says you're not getting it. One thing that I didn't mention that comes out in this clip, what they've done is they've agreed on kind of like the basics of the terms for the contract. Then they get attorneys to start drawing up the contract. A couple months go by, they can't come to a deal, contract never gets finalized, and woman puts the property on the market. This should be a huge red flag that if you have an agreement, you have a contract, there shouldn't need to be anything else done to make that formal. So the fact that they had lawyers that were working on coming to an agreement and getting the contract finalized meant that there wasn't an agreement yet.
When we contacted her attorney, the attorney told us that he hasn't been in contact for over 20 years with this person.
Then I wouldn't have gone on her property with a tractor.
I'm with Judge Judy on the fact that there was not a contract. I do feel bad for the guy for having gone on the property and having done things to make the property better, if that was true. But this is why we always caution clients, that want to get access to the property to do something before the closing, that there needs to be something written into the deal that any improvements you make to the property, should the deal go south, you need to be paid back for the increase in value. This is a tough one. It's, the only winner here was the seller who was able to sell the property for twice as much and got the benefit of whatever, improvements were made to the property.